Okay, here we are, a little Saturday morning stream, and also this is my first stream simultaneously to YouTube and Twitch. So I'm just checking a few of my settings here, but it seems to be actually working. I am live right now on both Twitch and YouTube. It's an amazing time we live in, isn't it? We are truly living in the future. Okay, so now that that excitement is past, we will get back to our overall mission, which is to read all of the poems, the complete works of Sara Teasdale, from A to Z. So, we had just finished in the last stream the O's. We had finished the entire alphabet up to the letter O. And now we begin the letter P. With a poem called Pain. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm still getting used to the streamer interface of YouTube, and in particular of simultaneous YouTube and Twitch. It's interesting. Okay, so let's get to it though. This poem is called Pain. Waves are the sea's white daughters, and raindrops the children of rain. But why, for my shimmering body, have I a mother like pain? Night is the mother of stars, and wind the mother of foam. The world is brimming with beauty, but I must stay home. I have no idea what that poem is supposed to mean. It is strange. Why have I a mother like pain? Yeah, no, I just don't get it. Sorry to say that I don't get it. Okay, that's fine. It was a pretty poem. Anyway, I don't need to understand it to appreciate the beauty of the words. The next poem is called Paris in Spring. The cities all a-shining beneath a fickle sun. A gay young wind's a-blowing, the little shower is done, but the raindrops still are clinging and falling one by one. Oh, it's Paris, and springtime has begun. I know the boys is twinkling in a sort of hazy sheen. Down the chomps, the grey old arch. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Paris in spring, so these are French place names. I'm afraid I have to start this. Stanza again. I know the bois is twinkling in a sort of hazy sheen, and down the champ the grey old arch stands cold and still between. But the walk is flecked with sunlight where the great acacias lean. Oh, it's Paris, and the leaves are growing green. The sun's gone in, the sparkle's dead, there falls a dash of rain. But who would care when such an air comes blowing up the Seine? And still Ninette sits sewing beside her window pane, when it's Paris, and springtime's come again. Oh, I'm sorry, springtime's come again. I forget she pronounces again as again in all of her poems, or else the rhymes don't work. Okay. Next up, that was Paris in Spring by Sara Teasdale. Next up will be Peace. Peace flows into me as the tide to the pool by the shore. It is mine forevermore, it will not ebb like the sea. I am the pool of blue that worships the vivid sky. My hopes were heaven high, they are all fulfilled in you. I am the pool of gold when sunset burns and dies. You are my deepening skies. Give me your stars to hold. That was Peace by Sara Teasdale. Hello, King. How are you this morning or this afternoon? Whenever it is where you are. This is a very exciting stream for me. This is the first stream where I've set up multicast, so I'm simultaneously streaming to both Twitch and YouTube. We'll see how that goes. If I ever make it to affiliate on Twitch, I won't be allowed to do that anymore. Oh, so you're actually a bit west of me. I'm in the Eastern time zone. Okay, the next poem is called Pierrot. Pierrot stands in the garden beneath the waning moon, and on his lute he fashions a fragile silver tune. Pierrot plays in the garden, he thinks he plays for me, but I am quite forgotten under the cherry tree. Pierrot plays in the garden, and all the roses knew that Pierrot loves his music, but I love Pierrot. Oh dear, I screwed up that rhyme. That was, the second line was, all the roses know, and I read it as new. but new does not rhyme with Perot. The dangers of reading aloud poems you've never read before. Here we have another poem, also about Perot. This one is called Perot's Song. Lady, light in the east hangs low. Draw your veils of dream apart. Under the casement stands Perot. Make a song to ease his heart, yet do not break the song too soon. I love to sing in the paling moon. The petals are falling heavy with dew. The stars have fainted out of the sky. Come to me, come, or else I, too, faint with the weight of love will die. She comes, alas, I hoped to make another stanza for her sake. Next we have Pity. They never saw my lover's face. They only know our love was brief, wearing a while a windy grace, and passing like an autumn leaf. They wonder why I do not weep. They think it strange that I can sing. They say her love was scarcely deep, since it has left so slight a sting. They never saw my love, nor knew that in my heart's most secret place I pity them as angels do, men who have never seen God's face. That was Pity. And next, since we are in the P's right now, is Places. Places I love come back to me like music. Hush me and heal me when I am very tired. I see the oak woods at Saxton's flaming, in a flare of crimson by the frost newly fired. And I am thirsty for the spring in the valley, as for a kiss ungiven and long desired. I know a bright world of snowy hills at Boonton, a blue and white dazzling light on everything one sees. The ice-covered branches of the hemlocks sparkle, bending low and tinkling in the sharp, thin breeze. And iridescent crystals fall and crackle on the snow crust, with the winter sun drawing cold blue shadows from the trees. Violet now in veil on veil of evening, the hills across from Cromwell grow dreamy and far. A wood thrush is singing soft as a viol in the heart of the hollow where the dark pools are. The primrose has opened her pale yellow flowers, and heaven is lighting star after star. Places I love come back to me like music. Mid-ocean midnight, the waves buzz drowsily. In the ship's deep churning, the eerie phosphorescence is like the souls of people who were drowned at sea. And I can hear a man's voice speaking, hushed, insistent, at midnight, in mid-ocean, hour on hour, to me. That was Places by Sara Teasdale. Next, the last of the P's is called Primavera Mia. As kings who see their little life day pass take off the heavy ermine and the crown, so had the trees that autumn time laid down their golden garments on the faded grass. When I, who watched the seasons in the glass, of mine own thoughts saw all the autumn's brown leap into life and don a sunny gown of leafage such as happy April has. Great spring came singing upward from the south, for in my heart, far carried on the wind, your words like winged seas took root and grew, and all the world caught music from your mouth. I saw the light as one who had been blind, and knew my sun and song and spring were you. All right. Before I start the R's, I'm going to mute for a moment to clear my throat and hydrate. That was quite a good stream, I thought, from Soya yesterday. I saw you were there, King. She does do good ASMR. Alrighty. Next up we have red maples. In the last year I have learned how few men are worth by my trust. I have seen the friend I love struck by death into the dust, and fears I never knew before have knocked and knocked upon my door. I shall hope little and ask for less, I said. There is no happiness. I have grown wise at last, but how can I hide the gleam on the willow bough, or keep the fragrance out of the rain, now that April is here again? When maples stand in a haze of fire, what can I say to the old desire? What shall I do with the joy in me that is born out of agony? Her poems, almost all of them, are a bit depressing. She has a few happy ones, but mostly depressing. I really like the sound of her poems, though. That's why I read them. The next is called Red Birds. Red birds, long and long ago, what a honey call you had in hills I used to know. Red bud, buckberry, wild plum tree, and proud river sweeping southward to the sea. Brown and gold in the sun, sparkling far below, trailing stately round her bluffs where the poplars grow. Red birds, are you singing still, as you sang one May day on Saxton's Hill? That was a pretty one. Oh, goodness. Oh, no. I'm sorry. My automod got you. I wonder if I can undo that. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't seem to have any ability to restore your messages, if that's even possible. I'm very sorry. Maybe I should adjust my settings to be a little bit less enthusiastic. This is how we learn. Okay, let's see. What did we just read? We just read Redbirds. Now we read Refuge. From my spirit's grey defeat, from my pulses' flagging beat, from my hopes that turn to sand, sifting through my close-clenched hand, and from my own fault slavery, if I can sing, I still am free. For with my singing I can make a refuge for my spirit's sake, a house of shining words to be my fragile immortality. That seems to be a poem about herself writing poetry. Next up we have Riches. I have no riches but my thoughts, yet these are wealth enough for me. My thoughts of you are golden coins stamped in the mint of memory. And I must spend them all in song, for thoughts as well as gold must be left on the hither side of death to gain their immortality. Oh no, once again, okay. I need to fix this. We'll take a little break and figure out how to fix this. Okay. CloudBot. Caps protection, symbol protection, word protection, paragraph protection. Okay. Auto permit. Punishment is, well, let's just start with a timeout of 1 second. And there we go. Maximum message length is 140. That's quite short. Let's make that. Let's see. I think certainly 600. Nope, 500 is the biggest I can make it, so I will make it 500. There you go. You have 500 characters. And it will no longer delete. It will simply time you out for 1 second if you exceed that. That seems reasonable to me. Yeah, sorry, it was 140 characters is the default, I guess. That's really very short. I've honestly not yet needed to moderate anything because nobody comes to my streams. I think I've had a few people that I don't actually know from other streams or Discord or whatever follow me, but they haven't said anything. Okay, where were we? Looks like we had just finished Riches. And next up is Rispetto. Was that his step that sounded on the stair? Was that his knock I heard upon the door? I grow so tired I almost cease to care, and yet I would that he might come once more. It was the wind I heard that mocks at me, the bitter wind that is more cruel than he. It was the wind that knocked upon the door, but he will never knock, nor enter more. Yeah, maybe with my ASMR in particular, I won't get very many people trying to stir up trouble. I have certainly seen other streamers, VTubers, have lots of trouble in their chats. Next up we have Rivers to the Sea. But what of her whose heart is troubled by it, the mother who would soothe and set him free, fearing the song's storm-shaken ecstasy? Oh, as the moon that has no power to quiet the strong wind-driven sea. Thank you, I'm glad you're enjoying it. How do you feel about these little triggers that I do on the mic? I don't have a lot of triggers. I don't have a 3DO. So I can't, do stuff with ears. But these are these mics have a long metal section that I can sort of touch like that. I think that makes a nice sound. Okay, the next is called Roses and Rue. Bring me the roses, white and red, and take the laurel leaves away. Yea, wreathe the roses round my head, that wearies neath the crown of bay. We searched the wintry forests through, and found no roses anywhere. But we have brought a little rue, to twine a circlet for your hair. I would not pluck the rose in May, I wove a laurel crown instead. But when the crown is cast away, they bring me rue, the rose is dead. Great. I'm glad you like it. I did order some parts that I can use to build my own 3DIO type microphone. They actually just shipped yesterday, but they're coming from overseas. So we'll see how that goes. This one is called Roundel. Rondel? I'm not really sure. If he could know my songs are all for him, at silver dawn or in the evening glow, would he not smile and think it but a whim if he could know? Or would his heart rejoice and overflow as happy brooks that break their icy rim when April's horns along the hillsides blow? I may not speak till Eros's touch is dim. The god is bitter and will have it so. Yet tonight our fate would seem less grim if he could know. That was the R's. We're making very good progress now through the alphabet. Of course, as soon as I say that, as I scroll down the list of S's, there are quite a few S's. And at the beginning of the S's, oh goodness gracious, we have a set of 3 poems, Sappho 1, Sappho 2, and Sappho 3, and each one of them is quite long. Well, I guess the point is to take up time anyway, right? So we will spend some time in the S's here. Sappho 1. Midnight, and in the darkness not a sound. So with hushed breathing sleeps the autumn night. Only the white immortal stars shall know, here in the house with the low lintel door, how for the last time I have lit the lamp. I think you are not wholly careless now, walls that have sheltered me so many an hour, bed that has brought me ecstasy and sleep, floors that have borne me when a gale of joy lifted my soul and made me half a god. Farewell, across the threshold many feet shall pass, but never Sappho's feet again. Girls shall come in whom love has made aware, of all their swaying beauty they shall sing. But never Sappho's voice, like golden fire, shall seek for heaven through your echoing rafters. There shall be swallows bringing back the spring over the long blue meadows of the sea, and the south wind playing on the reeds of rain. But never Sappho's whisper in the night, never her love cry when the lover comes. Farewell, I close the door and make it fast. The little street lies meek beneath the moon, running as rivers run to meet the sea. I too go seaward and shall not return. O garlands on the doorposts that I pass, woven of asters and of autumn leaves, I make a prayer for you. Cypress, be kind, that every lover may be given love. I shall not hasten lest the paving stone should echo with my sandals and awake those who are warm beneath the cloak of sleep, lest they should rise and see me and should say, whither goes Sappho lonely in the night? Whither goes Sappho, whither all men go? But they go driven, straining back with fear, and Sappho goes as lightly as a leaf blown from brown autumn forests to the sea. Here on the rock, Zeus lifted from the waves, I shall await the waking of the dawn, lying beneath the weight of dark as one lies breathless till the lover shall awake. And with the sun the sea shall cover me, I shall be less than the dissolving foam, murmuring and melting on the ebbing tide. I shall be less than spindrift, less than the shells, and yet I shall be greater than the gods, for destiny no more can bow my soul, as rain bows down the watchfires on the hills. Yea, if my soul escape, it shall aspire to the white heaven as flame that is its will. I go not bitterly, not dumb with pain, not broken by the ache of love I go. As one grown tired lies down and hopes to sleep, yet they shall say, it was for Cercolas. She died because she could not bear her love. They shall remember how we used to walk here on the cliff beneath the oleanders, in the long, limpid twilight of the spring, looking toward Lemnos, where the amber sky was pierced with the faint arrow of a star. How should they know the wind of a new beauty sweeping my soul had winnowed it with song? I have been glad though love should come or go, happy as trees that find a wind to sway them, happy again when it has left them rest. Others shall say, grave Dica wrought her death. She would not lift her lips to take a kiss, or ever lift her eyes to take a smile. She was a pool the winter pays with ice, that the wild hunter in the hills must leave, with thirst unslaked in the brief southward sun. Ah, Dica, it is not for thee I go, and not for Phaon, though his ship lifts sail, here in the windless harbor for the south. O darkling deities that guard the Nile, watch over one whose gods are far away. Egypt, be kind to him, his eyes are deep, yet they are wrong who say it was for him. How should they know that Sappho lived and died, faithful to love, not faithful to the lover, never transfused and lost in what she loved, never so wholly loving nor at peace? I asked for something greater than I found, and every time that love has made me weep, I have rejoiced that love could be so strong, for I have stood apart and watched my soul, caught in the gust of passion as a bird, with baffled wings against the dusty whirlwind, struggles and frees itself to find the sky. It is not for a single god I go. I have grown weary of the winds of heaven. I will not be a reed to hold the sound of whatsoever breaths the gods may blow. Turning my torment into music for them, they give me life, the gift was bountiful. I lived with the swift singing strength of fire, seeking for beauty as a flame for fuel, beauty in all things and in every hour. The gods have given life, I gave them song. The debt is paid, and now I turn to go. The breath of dawn blows the stars out like lamps. There is a rim of silver on the sea. As one grows tired who hopes to sleep, I go. That was Sappho 1 by Sara Teasdale. A rather long poem, and just the first in a series of 3. Posey Merdique, thank you for the follow. Welcome to my stream. Today we are reading poems by Sara Teasdale. We're reading all of her poems, in fact, in alphabetical order, although not all in this stream. I think this is my 5th stream where I've been working through her complete collection, and we are all the way up to S. Alrighty. I'm going to take a very brief break to hydrate before I start Sappho 2. Alrighty. Oh, I'll see you later, King. Enjoy your food. I hope you have a very comfy day. Sappho 2 by Sara Teasdale. O littlest little slave, why will you sleep? These long Egyptian's noons bend down your head, bowed like the yarrow with a yellow bee. There lift your eyes no man has ever kindled, dark eyes that wait like faggots for the fire. See how the temple's solid square of shade points north to Lesbos, and the splendid sea that you have never seen, O evening-eyed. Yet have you ever wondered what the Nile is seeking always, restless and wild with spring, and no less in the winter seeking still. How shall I tell you? Can you think of fields greater than God's could, till more blue than night, sewn over with the stars, and delicate with filmy nets of foam that come and go? It is more cruel and more compassionate than harried earth. It takes with unconcern and quick forgetting rapture of the rain and agony of thunder, the moon's white, soft-garmented virginity, and then the unsatiable ardor of the sun. And me it took, but there is one more strong, love that came laughing from the Eider seas, the Cyprian, the mother of the world. She gave me love who only asked for death, I who had seen much sorrow in men's eyes, and in my own too a sorrowful fire. I was a sister of the stars, and yet shaken with pain, sister of birds, and yet the wings that bore my soul were very tired. I watched the careless spring too many times light her green torches in a hungry wind. Too many times I watched them flare and then fall to forsaken embers in the autumn. And I was sick of all things, even song. In the dull autumn dawn I turned to death, buried my living body in the sea, the strong, cold sea that takes and does not give. But there is one more strong, the Cyprian, Litis, to wake from sleep and find your eyes met in their first fresh upward gaze by love, filled with love's happy shame from other eyes, dazzled with tenderness and drowned in light, as though you looked unthinking at the sun. O Litis that is joy, but if you came not from the sunny shallow pool of sleep, but from the sea of death, the strangling sea of night and nothingness, and waked to find love looking down upon you, glad and still. Strange and yet known forever, that is peace. So did he lean above me. Not a word he spoke. I only heard the morning sea singing against his happy ship, the keen and straining joy of wind-awakened sails, and songs of mariners, and in myself the precious pain of arms that held me fast. They warmed the cold sea out of all my blood. I slept feeling his eyes above my sleep. There on the ship with wines and olives laden, led by the stars to far invisible ports, Egypt and islands of the inner seas, love came to me, and circle us was love. That was Sappho 2 by Sara Teasdale. And now we will move on to Sappho 3, another long poem and the last of the Sappho series. The twilight's inner flame grows blue and deep, and in my Lesbos, over leagues of sea, the temples glimmer moonwise in the trees. Twilight has veiled the little flower face here on my heart, but still the night is kind, and leaves her warm, sweet weight against my breast. Am I that Sappho who would run at dusk, along the surges creeping up the shore, when tides came in to ease the hungry beach, and running running till the night was black, would fall forspent upon the chilly sand, and quiver with the winds from off the sea. Quietly the shingle waits the ties whose waves are stinging kisses, but to me love brought no peace, nor darkness any rest. I crept and touched the foam with fevered hands, and cried to love from whom the sea is sweet, from whom the sea is bitterer than death. Ah, Aphrodite, if I sing no more to thee, God's daughter, powerful as God, is it that thou hast made my life too sweet to hold the added sweetness of a song? There is a quiet at the heart of love, and I have pierced the pain and come to peace. I hold my peace, my Cleis, on my heart, and softer than a little wild bird's wing are kisses that she pours upon my mouth. Ah, never any more, when spring like fire will flicker in the newly opened leaves, shall I steal forth to seek for solitude beyond the lure of light, Alcaeus' lyre, beyond the sob that stilled Erinna's voice. Ah, never with a throat that aches with song, beneath the white uncaring sky of spring, shall I go forth to hide a while from love, the quiver and the crying of my heart. Still remember how I strove to flee the love note of the birds, and bowed my head to hurry faster, but upon the ground I saw two winged shadows side by side, and all the world's spring passion stifled me. Ah, love, there is no fleeing from thy might, no lonely place where thou hast never trod, no desert thou hast left uncarpeted with flowers that spring beneath thy perfect feet. In many guises didst thou come to me. I saw thee by the maidens while they danced. Phaon allured me with a look of thine. In Anactoria I knew thy grace. I looked at Cercolas and saw thine eyes, but never wholly, soul and body mine, didst thou bid any love me as I loved. Now have I found the peace that fled from me. Close does against my heart I hold my world. Ah, love that made my life a lyric cry. Ah, love that turned my lips to lyres of thine. I taught the world thy music now alone. I sing for one who falls asleep to hear. That was Sappho 3 by Sara Teasdale, the last of the Sappho poems. So, next we have what I believe is a mistake in this collection, because we have a poem titled Sara Teasdale by Sara Teasdale. And in fact, I recognize this poem because I've read it before under a different title. Let me see if I can remember which one that was. Yes, it was called A Minuet of Mozart's. So the proper title of this poem is A Minuet of Mozart's, and it's just misorganized here in this collection, appearing under the title Sara Teasdale. But I like the poem, and it's short, so I'm going to read it anyway, even though it is a mistake for it to appear here. Across the dimly lighted room, the violin drew wefts of sound. Airily they wove and wound and glimmered gold against the gloom. I watched the music turn to light, but at the pausing of the bow, the web was broken and the glow was drowned within the wave of night. I really do like that one. It's very nice. Okay, let's get back to our proper place here. Apologies for the mouse wheel sounds if you don't like that. So, we were in the S's, and the next poem is Sea Longing. A 1,000 miles beyond this sun-steeped wall, somewhere the waves creep cool along the sand. The ebbing tide forsakes the listless land with the old murmur long and musical. The windy waves mount up and curve and fall, and round the rocks the foam blows up like snow. Though I am inland far, I hear and know, for I was born the sea's eternal thrall. I would that I were there, and over me the cold insistence of the tide would roll, quenching this burning thing men call the soul. Then with the ebbing I should drift and be less than the smallest shell along the shoal, less than the seagulls calling to the sea. Next we have September Midnights. Lyric night of the lingering Indian summer, shadowy fields that are scentless but full of singing. Never a bird but the passionless chant of insects, ceaseless, insistent. The grasshopper's horn, and far off, high in the maples, the wheel of a locust leisurely grinding the silence, under a moon waning and worn, broken, tired with summer. Let me remember you, voices of little insects, weeds in the moonlight, fields that are tangled with asters. Let me remember, soon will the winter be on us, snow hushed and heavy. Over my soul murmur your mute benediction, while I gaze, O fields that rest after harvest, as those who part look long in the eyes they lean to, lest they forget them. That was September Midnights by Sara Teasdale. And I feel that I need to call out one thing in that poem, and that is the opening line, lyric night of the lingering Indian summer. Indian summer, of course, is a very insensitive idiom. That treats the Native Americans very insensitively, and I would never use that idiom myself, although I certainly did use it when I was younger, before I really even understood the history of that term. But I think anybody who understands the history of that term should not be using it. That said, Sara Teasdale lived more than 100 years ago. This poem was written more than 100 years ago, and so I suspect to her it was just a phrase that she didn't think of too much, or if she did think of it, she was in a cultural context where it didn't really matter. That's not to forgive it, but simply to explain it. And indeed, I think there's so much good in her poetry that I would not want to cancel Sara Teasdale. That would be a tremendous loss. And so we continue with the complete works of Sara Teasdale from A to Z. Next is a poem called Silence. And this one has a dedication to it, to Eleanor Dews. We are and hungered after solitude, deep stillness pure of any speech or sound, soft quiet hovering over pools profound. The silences that on the desert brood above a windless hush of empty seas, the broad unfurling banners of the dawn, a fairy forest where there sleeps a fawn. Our souls are fain of solitudes like these, a woman who divined our weariness and set the crown of silence on your art. From what undreamed of depth within your heart have you sent forth the hush that makes us free, to hear an instant, high above earth's stress, the silent music of infinity. Okay, that was Silence. And next up we have a poem called Since There Is No Escape. Since there is no escape, since at the end my body will be utterly destroyed, this hand I love as I have loved a friend, this body I tended, wept with and enjoyed. Since there is no escape, even for me, who love life with a love too sharp to bear, the scent of orchards in the rain, the sea, the hours alone, too still and sure for prayer. Since the darkness waits for me, then all the more, let me go down as waves sweep to the shore in pride, and let me sing with my last breath. In these few hours of light I lift my head. Life is my lover, I shall leave the dead, if there is any way to baffle death. That one's interesting. That was called Since There Is No Escape by Sara Teasdale. Next up, we have a poem called Sleepless. If I could have your arms tonight, but half the world and the broken sea lie between you and me. The autumn rain reverberates in the courtyard, beating all night against the barren stone. The sound of useless rain in the desolate courtyard makes me more alone. If you were here, if you were only here, my blood cries out to you all night in vain, as sleepless as the rain. Next up we have Snow Song. fairy snow, blowing, blowing everywhere. Would that I, too, could fly lightly, lightly through the air. Like a wee crystal star, I should drift, I should blow, near, more near to my dear, where he comes through the snow. I should fly to my love like a flake in the storm. I should die on his lips that are warm. Isn't that nice? Next one is called Snowfall by Sara Teasdale. She can't be unhappy, you said. The smiles are like stars in her eyes, and her laugh is thistledown around her low replies. Is she unhappy, you said? But who has ever known another's heartbreak? All he can know is his own, and she seems hushed to me, as hushed as though her heart were a hunter's fire smothered in snow. I really like that one, I think, quite a lot. That one's called Snowfall by Sara Teasdale. It's quite nice indeed. Next up is one called Song at Capri. When beauty grows too great to bear, how shall I ease me of its ache? For beauty, more than bitterness, makes the heart break. Now, while I watch the dreaming sea with isles like flowers against her breast, only one voice in all the world could give me rest. Okay. Next we have a poem simply called Song 1. This is the first in another series of 3. So there's Song 1, Song 2, and Song 3. And we start, as is good and proper, with Song 1. You bound strong sandals on my feet. You gave me bread and wine and sent me under sun and stars, for all the world was mine. Oh, take the sandals off my feet, you know not what you do, for all my world is in your arms. My sun and stars are you. Lovely, a lovely little poem. And next we have Song 2. Like some rare queen of old romance who loved the gleam of helm and lance is she. A harper of King Arthur's days should praise her in 100 lays. The queen of love and chivalry, ô Dieu te garde, mon cœur, ma vie. And crown-wise plaited is her hair, no crown of woven gold more fair could be. And very queen-like too the smile that lightens every little while, a face too fair for men to see, ô Dieu te garde, mon cœur, ma vie. She is not overkind, I know. The queens were gracious long ago. Ah me. Queen Guinevere would give a kiss oft times to Lancelot, I wis, I would that I were loved as he. Oh Dieu te garde, mon cœur, ma vie. The French in that one caught me a little bit off guard. I apologize to anybody who speaks French or enjoys the sound of French for what I just did there. I used to speak French kind of okay, but then I learned Spanish, and Spanish sort of displaced French in my brain. I guess I did okay, though. That was Song 2 by Sara Teasdale. And now we're moving on, quite shockingly, to Song 3. Let it be forgotten as a flower is forgotten, forgotten as a fire that once was singing gold. Let it be forgotten forever and ever. Time is a kind friend, he will make us old. If anyone asks, say it was forgotten long and long ago. As a flower, as a fire, as a hushed football in a long forgotten snow. That was Song 3 by Sara Teasdale. I think I liked all 3 songs. Song 1, Song 2, and Song 3. Because they all sounded very nice, with very nice rhyme and very nice meter, as you expect for poems called song. I would hope that any poem called song would have good rhyme and meter. And next up we have a poem called Song Making. My heart cried like a beaten child, ceaselessly all night long. I had to take my own cries and thread them into a song. One was a cry at black midnight, and one when the first cock crew. My heart was like a beaten child, but no one ever knew. Life, you have put me in your debt, and I must serve you long. But oh, the debt is terrible that must be paid in song. I'm sorry, that poem might have been a little bit triggering for some people. I haven't read any of these poems in advance. I'm just discovering them for the first time along with you. Next up we have Sonnet by Sara Teasdale. I saw a ship sail forth at evening time. Her prow was gilded by the western fire, and all her rigging one vast golden lyre. 4 winds to play on to the ocean's rhyme, of wave on wave forever singing low. She floated on a web of burnished gold, and in such light as praying men behold, cling round a vision where her sails aglow. I saw her come again when dawn was gray, her wonder faded and her splendor dead. She whom I loved once had upon her way a light most like the sunset, now 'tis sped. And this is saddest, what seemed wondrous fair are now but straight pale lips, dull gold hair. That poem was simply called Sonnet by Sara Teasdale. I imagine, if you're a poet, it must be a bit stressful, or at least it would be for me, to choose one of my works to call simply sonnet, because everyone would expect that one to be your best sonnet in order to deserve the name sonnet. The next one is called Soul's Birth. When you were born, beloved was your soul, new made by God to match your body's flower. And were they both one, same precious hour, sent forth from heaven as a perfect whole? Or had your soul, since dim creation burned, a star in some still region of the sky, that leaping earthward left its place on high, and to your little newborn body yearned? No words can tell in what celestial hour God made your soul and gave it mortal birth, nor in the disarray of all the stars is any place so sweet that such a flower must linger there until through heaven's bars it heard God's voice that bade it down to earth. Okay. Next up we have Spray. I knew you thought of me all night. I knew though you were far away. I felt your love blow over me, as if a dark wind-riven sea drenched me with quivering spray. There are so many ways to love, and each way has its own delight. Then be content to come to me, only as spray the beating sea drives inland through the night. The next poem by Sara Teasdale is called Spring in Wartime. I feel the spring far off, the faint far scent of bud and leaf. Oh, how can spring take heart to come to a world in grief, deep grief? The sun turns north, the days grow long, later the evening star grows bright. How can the daylight linger on for men to fight, still fight? The grass is waking in the ground, soon it will rise and blow in waves. How can it have the heart to sway over graves, new graves? Under the boughs where lovers walked, the apple blooms will shed their breath. But what of all the lovers now parted by death, gray death? I feel like I screwed up reading that one. It has an unusual structure, and I wasn't entirely sure how to read it, but I think I could do better the second time around, but for now we will soldier on to the next poem. The next poem is called Spring Night. The park is filled with night and fog. The veils are drawn about the world. The drowsy lights along the paths are dim and pearled. Gold and gleaming the empty streets, gold and gleaming the misty lake. The mirrored lights, like sunken swords, glimmer and shake. Oh, is it not enough to be here with this beauty over me? My throat should ache with praise, and I should kneel in joy beneath the sky. Oh, beauty, are you not enough? Why am I crying after love, with youth a singing voice, and eyes to take the earth's wonder with surprise? Why have I put off my pride? Why am I unsatisfied? I, for whom the pensive night binds her cloudy hair with light. I, for whom all beauty burns like incense in a million urns. Oh, beauty, are you not enough? Why am I crying after love? It's a good poem to think about. Next up we have Spring Rain by Sara Teasdale. I thought I had forgotten, but it all came back again. Tonight, with the first spring thunder in a rush of rain. I remembered a darkened doorway where we stood while the storm swept by. Thunder gripping the earth and lightning scrawled on the sky. The passing motor buses swayed, for the street was a river of rain, lashed into little golden waves in the lamplight stain. With the wild spring rain and thunder, my heart was wild and gay. Your eyes said more to me that night than your lips would ever say. I thought I had forgotten, but it all came back again tonight with the first spring thunder in a rush of rain. Next up we have a poem called Spring Torrents. It'll always be like this until I am dead. Every spring must I bear it all again. With the first red haze of the budding maple boughs and the first sweet spelling rain. Oh, I am like a rock in the rising river, where the flooded water breaks with a low call, like a rock that knows the cry of waters. And I cannot answer at all. The next poem is called Stars. Alone in the night, on a dark hill with pines around me, spicy and still, and a heaven full of stars over my head, white and topaz and misty red. Myriads with beating hearts of fire that eons cannot vex or tire. Up the dome of heaven like a great hill I watch them marching, stately and still, and know that I am honored to be witness of so much majesty. That was very nice. Next we have Summer Night, Riverside. In the wild, soft summer darkness, how many and many a night we two together sat in the park and watched the Hudson, wearing her lights like golden spangles glinting on black satin. The rail along the curving pathway was low and a happy place to let us cross. And down the hill a tree that dripped with bloom sheltered us, while your kisses and the flowers, falling, tangled in my hair. The frail white stars moved slowly over the sky, and now, far off in the fragrant darkness, the tree is tremulous again with bloom, for June comes back. Tonight what girl, dreamily before her mirror shakes from her hair this year's blossoms clinging to its coils? That was Summer Night, Riverside by Sara Teasdale. And next we have Summer Storm. The panther wind leaps out of the night. The snake of lightning is twisting and white. The lion of thunder roars, and we sit still and content under a tree. We have met fate together, and love and pain. Why should we fear the wrath of the rain? Next we have Sunset, St. Louis. Hushed in the smoky haze of summer sunset, when I came home again from far-off places, how many times I saw my western city dream by her river. Then for an hour the water wore a mantle of tawny gold and mauve and misted turquoise. Under the tall and darkened arches bearing gray, high-flung bridges. Against the sunset, water towers and steeples flickered with fire up the slope to westward, and old warehouses poured their purple shadows across the levee. High over them the black train swept with thunder, cleaving the city, leaving far beneath it wharf boats moored beside the old side wheelers, resting in twilight. Next is called Swallow Fight. I love my hour of wind and light. I love men's faces and their eyes. I love my spirit's veering flight like swallows under evening skies. That was it, a short poem called Swallow Flight. I like that sort of poem. The next poem is called Swans. Night is over the park, and a few brave stars look on the lights that link it with chains of gold. The lake bears up their reflection in broken bars that seem too heavy for tremulous water to hold. We watch the swans that sleep in a shadowy place. Now and again one wakes and uplifts its head. How still you are, your gaze is on my face. We watch the swans and never a word is said. And that was the end of the S's we're making very good progress in our quest, our mission to read the complete works of Sara Teasdale from A to Z. And we begin now the T's, or we begin next the T's. Let me check the time here, because I'm not entirely sure I should keep going right now. It may be better for me to take a break and come back later. Well, it seems okay. I think I'll keep going. I think I am not likely to complete the T's because there are a lot of poems that begin with T. Can you guess why? That's right, because there are a lot of poems that begin with the word the or the, depending on your preferred emphasis. So yes, there is not a chance that we're going to complete the T's in this stream, but that's okay. We will make some progress, and we will be comfy and relaxed while we do it. So, we begin the T's with a poem called Testament. I said, I will take my life and throw it away. I, who was fire and song, will turn to clay. I will lie no more in the night with shaken breath. I will toss my heart in the air to be caught by death. But out of the night I heard, like the inland sound of the sea, the hushed and terrible sob of all humanity. Then I said, oh, who am I to scorn God to his face? I will bow my head and stay and suffer with my race. Well, that's a song that is simultaneously very dark, but also perhaps a little inspirational. Depends on what you want to find in it, I guess. Okay, and now we begin the These with a poem called The Answer. When I go back to earth and all my joyous body puts off the red and white that once had been so proud, if men should pass above with false and feeble pity, my dust will find a voice to answer them aloud. Be still, I am content. Take back your poor compassion. Joy was a flame in me, too steady to destroy. Lithe as a bending reed, loving the storm that sways her, I found more joy in sorrow than you could find in joy. I like that poem a lot, I think. That was called The Answer by Sara Teasdale. Cookie, hello. Welcome to the stream. This is a fun stream because I am simultaneously streaming to Twitch and YouTube. I figured out how to make that happen, and I figure one of the perks of not being a Twitch affiliate or partner is that I'm allowed to do that. Okay. The next poem is called The Blind. The birds are all a building. They say the world's a flower. And still I linger lonely within a barren bower. I weave a web of fancies, of tears and darkness spun. How shall I sing of sunlight who never saw the sun? I hear the pipes a-blowing, but yet I may not dance. I know that love is passing, I cannot catch his glance. And if his voice should call me, and I with groping dim should reach his place of calling and stretch my arms to him, the wind that would blow between my hands for joy that I shall miss, the rain would fall upon my mouth that his will never kiss. Next up, we have The Broken Field. My soul is a dark plowed field in the cold rain. My soul is a broken field plowed by pain. Where grass and bending flowers were growing, the field lies broken now for another sowing. Great sower, when you tread my field again, scatter the furrows there with better grain. That one is both angry and depressing, but it was pretty enough, I guess. Okay, next we have The Carpenter's Son. The summer dawn came over soon. The earth was like hot iron at noon in Nazareth. There fell no rain to ease the heat, and dusk drew on with tired feet and stifled breath. The shop was low and hot and square, and fresh-cut wood made sharp the air, while all day long the saw went tearing through the oak that moaned as though the tree's heart broke beneath its wrong. The narrow street was full of cries of bickering and snarling lies in many keys, the tongues of Egypt and of Rome, and lands beyond the shifting foam of windy seas. Sometimes a ruler riding fast scattered the dark crowds as he passed, and drove them close, in doorways drawing broken breath, lest they be trampled to their death where the dust rose. I do believe that poem was about Jesus as the carpenter's son, not Jesus as the savior of humanity. This next one is called The Cloud. I am a cloud in the heaven's height. The stars are lit for my delight. Tireless and changeful, swift and free, I cast my shadow on hill and sea. But why do the pines on the mountain's crest call to me always, rest, rest? I throw my mantle over the moon, and I blind the sun on his throne at noon. Nothing can tame me, nothing can bind. I am a child of the heartless wind, But oh, the pines on the mountain's crest, whispering always, rest, rest. This is the second poem of hers I've read where she has attempted to rhyme the word bind with the word wind. And I'm sorry, Sara Teasdale, but those don't actually rhyme. It's the same letters, but it's not the same sound. It's okay, I forgive you. Next up is a poem called The Coin. Into my heart's treasury I slipped a coin that time cannot take, nor a thief purloin. Oh, better than the minting of a gold-crowned king is the safe-kept memory of a lovely thing. Now there's a good rhyme. Coin and purloin. That's a very good rhyme. But bind and wind do not a rhyme make. Next is The Crystal Gazer. I shall gather myself into myself again. I shall take my scattered selves and make them one. I shall fuse them into a polished crystal ball, where I can see the moon and the flashing sun. I shall sit like a sibyl, hour after hour intent, watching the future come and the present go, and the little shifting pictures of people rushing in tiny self-importance to and fro. Okay. Next is called The Dreams of My Heart. The dreams of my heart and my mind pass. Nothing stays with me long. But I have had from a child the deep solace of song. If that should ever leave me, let me find death and stay with things whose tunes are played out and forgotten, like the rain of yesterday. Next we have The Fairy Forest. The fairy forest glimmered beneath an ivory moon. The silver grasses shimmered against a fairy tune. Beneath the silken silence the crystal branches slept, and dreaming through the dewfall, the cold white blossoms wept. Lovely, I like that one. Okay, here's a slightly longer one called The Flight. All through the deep blue night the fountain sang alone. It sang to the drowsy heart of the satyr carved in stone. The fountain sang and sang, but the satyr never stirred. Only the great white moon in the empty heaven heard. The fountain sang and sang, while on the marble rim the milk-white peacocks slept, and their dreams were strange and dim. Bright dew was on the grass and on the ilex dew. The dreamy milk-white birds were all a-glisten too. The fountain sang and sang the things one cannot tell. The dreaming peacocks stirred, and the gleaming dewdrops fell. That was The Flight by Sara Teasdale. I really love that poem. It's very nice. And here we have another poem that features a fountain. This one is called The Fountain. Oh, in the deep blue night the fountain sang alone. It sang to the drowsy heart of a satyr carved in stone. Wait a second. This is the same poem. This is exactly the same poem under a different title. So I shall not read it again. Instead, I shall proceed to the next poem, which is called The Garden. My heart is a garden tired with autumn, heaped with bending asters and dahlias heavy and dark. In the hazy sunshine, the garden remembers April, the drench of rains and a snowdrop quick and clear as a spark. Daffodils blowing in the cold wind of morning, and golden tulips, goblets holding the rain. The garden will be hushed with snow, forgotten soon, forgotten. After the stillness, will spring come again? Okay. I think I will read a couple more poems, and then it will be time for me to end stream, although I will have the house to myself again later this afternoon, and I may do some more poetry, or I may just do some gaming, because I can't do that very often. All right, this next poem is called The Ghost. I went back to the clanging city. I went back to where my old love stayed. But my heart was full of my new love's glory. My eyes were laughing and unafraid. I met one who had loved me madly and told his love for all to hear. But we talked of 1,000 things together. The past was buried too deep to fear. I met the other whose love was given with never a kiss and scarcely a word. Oh, it was then the terror took me of words unuttered that breath breathed and stirred. Oh, love that lives its life with laughter, or love that lives its life with tears, can die, but love that is never spoken goes like a ghost through the winding years. I went back to the clanging city. I went back where my old love stayed. My heart was full of my new love's glory, but my eyes were suddenly afraid. That's a very interesting, unusual poem. Most of her poems are sort of a little straightforward, I guess, thematically, but that one tells a more interesting story. This one is called The Gift. What can I give you, my lord, my lover? You who have given the world to me. showed me the light and the joy that covered the wild, sweet earth and the restless sea. All that I have are gifts of your giving. If I gave them again, you would find them old, and your soul would weary of always living before the mirror my life would hold. What shall I give you, my lord, my lover, the gift that breaks the heart in me? I bid you awake at dawn and discover I have gone my way and left you free. That's an interesting little twist at the end there. Unexpected. Okay, if the next one is short, I will read it, and if not, I'll end. Turns out the next one is short. It is called The Giver. You bound strong sandals on my feet. You gave me bread and wine, and sent me under sun and stars, for all the world was mine. Oh, take the sandals off my feet. You know not what you do, for all my world is in your arms. My sun and stars are you. I'm quite certain I read that one already. It must have been earlier in this collection, under a different name. All right, I think that will do it for today. I'm going to start by ending the stream on YouTube here, which I think is straightforward. So I will say, before I say goodbye to Twitch, I will say goodbye to YouTube. Thank you very much for joining me today for my first live stream on YouTube, or more likely, for watching the replay later. Have a comfy day.